A stranger's son rammed a cart into my legs, then bit me when I asked his mother to stop him. She laughed and said, "Walk away." But when I looked at his mouth, I stopped being polite. It was a cold Saturday afternoon in Tulsa. I moved through the aisles quickly, keeping my head down. The store was crowded enough that every turn felt like an apology waiting to happen. A toddler was crying near the bakery. Someone had dropped something glass near the pasta aisle. A worker was trying to mop around customers who kept stepping directly through the wet spot. By the time I reached checkout, I was done. Lane 6 looked like the shortest line, though that only meant 4 people were ahead of me instead of 6. I shifted my basket from one arm to the other and stared at the candy display, trying to ignore the ache in my shoulders. Then I heard the boy behind me. "I want that one." A woman answered, bored and distracted. "No, but I want it." I said no. Then their cart bumped forward. Not into me yet. Just close enough that I felt it behind my legs. I glanced back. The woman behind me was staring at her phone like the rest of the world had gone silent for her. Her hair was tied back neatly, her jacket looked expensive, and she barely seemed aware of the child standing beside her. Her son looked about 7 or 8. Old enough to understand basic boundaries. Young enough that I still blamed the adult more than him. He had both hands on the cart handle and was jerking it forward and back like it was a toy. Then he kicked the bottom of the display rack hard enough to make the battery shake. The cashier, Laura, looked up for half a second, then went back to scanning groceries. The boy grabbed a pack of gum, looked at it, and tossed it onto the floor. His mother didn't move. She only said, "Nicholas, stop." She didn't look at him when she said it. So he didn't stop. He reached for a candy bar next. His mother finally lowered her phone an inch. "No. Mom, you said maybe." I said no. "You always say no. Nicholas." That was all she gave him. Just his name, spoken in that flat warning voice some parents use when they want strangers to think they're handling it. I turned back around and tried to let it go. The woman in front of me was unloading a full cart, placing every item on the belt slowly and carefully. I told myself I could handle a few more minutes. I would pay leave, go home, and forget about the annoying kid and his checked-out mother. Then the cart slammed into the back of my legs. Hard. The metal edge hit right above my ankles, and pain shot up both calves. I grabbed the side of the conveyor belt to steady myself. For 1 second, I waited. I expected an apology. Nothing came. The cart stayed pressed against me. I turned around. "Could you please hold onto your cart?" I asked. It hit the back of my legs. The woman looked up from her phone like I had interrupted a private meeting. "He's a kid," she said. I waited again, because I honestly thought maybe that was the beginning of an apology. It wasn't. "I understand," I said. But it hurt. She sighed like I was exhausting her. "He didn't mean it. Just turn around." Nicholas stared at me with a little smirk on his face. Not a full smile. Just enough to let me know he understood exactly what had happened. I looked at his mother again. She lifted one shoulder. "Walk away if you're that sensitive." I almost laughed, because there was nowhere to walk. I was trapped in a checkout line with groceries on the belt and people packed around me. But her tone made it clear she had already decided I was the problem. So I turned back around. My face burned. My legs hurt. My hands tightened around the basket handle. I wanted to say something sharp, something that would embarrass her. But I didn't. I told myself to let it go. For about 30 seconds, nothing happened. Laura scanned groceries. Rain tapped against the front windows. Someone in another lane laughed at something on their phone. Then I felt a sharp pain in my left calf. Not a bump. Not a kick. A bite. I screamed before I understood what had happened. It was not a dramatic scream. It was the sound your body makes before your brain catches up. My basket hit the edge of the checkout lane, and a can of soup rolled onto the floor. I spun around and looked down. Nicholas was right behind me. Too close. His mouth was open, and for one strange second, my mind refused to accept what my body already knew. Then the sting hit. I reached down and touched the back of my calf through my jeans. My fingers came away damp. There was blood. Not a lot. Not some horrifying amount. But enough to make my stomach turn. Enough for Laura to freeze with a carton of eggs in her hand. Enough for the man in the next lane to mutter, "What the hell?" I stared at my fingers, then at Nicholas. There was a small smear near his mouth. His mother finally looked up properly. But she didn't gasp. She didn't grab him. She didn't say, "Oh my God, are you okay?" She frowned like I had inconvenienced her. "Seriously," she said. I couldn't speak at first. My calf throbbed. My hand shook. Everyone nearby was watching, and I was standing there with blood on my fingers while her son leaned against the cart like he had won something. He bit me, I said. My voice sounded smaller than I wanted it to. The woman rolled her eyes. He did not bite you that hard. I looked at her like I had misheard. He broke skin. He's 7, she snapped. You scared him. I scared him. You turned around and got in his face. I asked you to hold your cart. She gave a short, ugly laugh. Oh, please. Stop acting like he attacked you. He barely touched you. Laura said quietly, ma'am, there's blood. The woman shot her a look. Don't get involved. That was the moment something in me changed. Not exploded. Changed. The anger went cold. I looked at this stranger who had watched her child hurt me and somehow decided she was the victim. I looked at Nicholas, who still wasn't crying, still wasn't sorry, still wasn't scared. Then I looked at the blood on my hand. And I stopped thinking clearly. For a few seconds, the whole line froze. The cashier's light blinked above us. The rain kept tapping the glass. People pretended not to stare while staring at every detail. The boy's mother crossed her arms. You need to calm down, she said. That was what pushed me over. Not just the bite. Not even the blood. It was the way she said calm down, like I was being unreasonable for reacting to pain. Like my job was to absorb whatever her child did and protect her from embarrassment. I said, your son bit through my jeans. She scoffed. Then maybe don't stand so close to us. My mouth opened before I had a plan. I wish I could say I thought it through. I wish I could say I weighed the consequences and made some calculated decision. I didn't. I was hurt, humiliated, exhausted, and furious. In that exact second, I wanted her to feel fear. Just a fraction of it. Just enough to wipe that smug look off her face. So I clutched my leg, stepped back, and raised my voice. Oh my God, I said. You need to get him checked right now. The woman blinked. What? I looked at Nicholas, then back at her. He has my blood near his mouth. Her expression shifted slightly. I kept going. I'm under treatment for something serious. You need to call someone. The store went quiet in the strangest way. The registers still beeped. The rain still hit the windows. But every human sound around us seemed to stop at once. The woman's arms slowly dropped. What did you just say? I knew then. I knew I had crossed a line. The words were already out, hanging between us, heavy and ugly. I could feel people reacting. Someone whispered. Someone stepped back. Laura covered her mouth. I should have stopped. I should have said I was angry. I should have said I panicked. I should have taken it back before it grew teeth of its own. But the mother's face had gone pale, and some wounded part of me felt satisfied. For the first time since she entered that line, she was paying attention. She grabbed Nicholas by the shoulders and pulled him toward her. What do you mean serious? She asked. I didn't name anything. I didn't give details. I just let the fear sit there. He needs medical attention, I said. He bit me hard enough to break skin. The mother looked down at her son's mouth and saw the smear. Her hand flew to her face. Nicholas, she whispered. The boy finally looked scared. What? He said. She started wiping at his mouth with the sleeve of her jacket, too fast and too rough. Mom, stop. Don't do that, I said. Let a doctor check him. That made her panic worse. The store manager appeared a minute later. His name tag said Eric, and he looked like a man who expected a customer complaint but walked into a disaster. What happened? He asked. Laura pointed toward me. The child bit her. Eric looked at my leg, then at Nicholas, then at the mother. The mother said, she's saying something is wrong with her. I said he needs medical attention, I snapped. Eric held up both hands. Okay, everybody take a breath. Nobody took a breath. Nicholas started crying in small, frightened bursts. His mother pulled him against her side. Laura looked like she wanted to disappear. The people nearby were pretending to mind their business while clearly listening to every word. Eric called for first aid, then emergency services. He asked someone to bring clean towels and a chair. I refused the chair at first. I don't know why. Maybe sitting down made it feel too real. Maybe I was afraid that if I stopped moving, the guilt would catch up with me. Then Laura came around the register with a towel and said softly, please sit down. Her kindness almost broke me. I sat on the small bench near the closed register and pressed the towel against my calf. My leg burned. My heart pounded in my throat. The mother stood several feet away with Nicholas held tightly against her. She looked at me differently now. Not annoyed. Terrified. And I hated how much I wanted that. Eric tried to keep his voice calm. An ambulance is coming. They'll check everyone. We'll document what happened. Document? She asked. Yes, ma'am. There was an injury. He's a child. Eric looked at my leg. I understand. But she is bleeding. That sentence landed hard. The mother looked around and seemed to realize people had seen everything. Not just the bite. Her reaction too. She lowered her voice. You're making this bigger than it needs to be. I laughed once. It came out sharp. I'm making it bigger? I said he was sorry. No, you didn't. Her mouth opened, then closed. Because she knew I was right. Nicholas sobbed into her jacket. Am I in trouble? That was the first moment guilt hit me. He was a child. A badly behaved child, yes. A child who had hurt me, yes. But still a child. And now he was looking up at his mother like the floor had disappeared under him. She crouched in front of him. No, baby. You're okay. But she didn't sound sure. I looked away. My anger had carried me across a line. Now I was standing on the other side with no idea how to get back. When the paramedics arrived, everything became official. Two of them came through the automatic doors with rain on their jackets and calm voices that made the rest of us seem even more unhinged. One of them, Andrew, knelt near me and asked if he could look at my leg. I nodded. He kept his questions simple. Did the bite break skin? Yes. Was the child's mouth near the wound? Yes. Any allergies? No. Do you feel dizzy? A little. He cleaned the area gently while another responder spoke with the mother. I heard pieces of it. Human bite. Broken skin. Medical evaluation. Pediatrician. Follow-up. Documentation. Nothing dramatic. Nothing like what I had implied. But the mother was already too panicked to hear it calmly. What does evaluation mean? She kept asking. What are you saying could happen? Andrew stayed professional. I'm saying he should be checked. That's the safest step when there's a bite and blood involved. Blood involved. The words seemed to hollow her out. She sat down hard on the bench across from me and covered her mouth. For a second, our eyes met. She looked smaller. I looked away first. A police officer named Paul arrived after the paramedics. That was when the scene stopped feeling like public embarrassment and started feeling like something with consequences. He didn't treat anyone like a criminal. He spoke to Eric, then Laura, then the woman who had been ahead of me in line. He took notes and asked simple questions. Who saw the cart hit me? Who saw the bite? Did the child move toward me? Did the mother intervene? Every answer made the mother look worse. And she did not help herself. Instead of apologizing, she kept explaining. He was overstimulated. He doesn't usually do this. She turned around first. She scared him. At one point, Laura said quietly, the boy bit her after she asked for the cart to be moved. The mother snapped, you don't know my child. Laura looked down. I know what I saw. I was taken to Tulsa General Hospital because the bite had broken skin and needed proper cleaning. The officer followed separately to finish the report. By then, my anger had cooled enough for fear to take its place. Not fear of being sick. Fear of myself. The lie replayed in my head. I'm under treatment for something serious. It had been vague, but it was enough. Enough to scare her. Enough to scare the child. Enough to turn a grocery store incident into something much darker. At the hospital, a nurse cleaned my leg again and asked what happened. I told the truth about the cart. I told the truth about the bite. I told the truth about the mother dismissing it. When she asked if there was any medical concern the child needed to know about, my throat tightened. I said I panicked in the store. She paused. I looked at the floor. I said something because I was angry. I shouldn't have. The nurse didn't scold me. Somehow that made it worse. She just said, okay, we're going to focus on treating the wound. Officer Paul came by later and took my statement. I was careful then. More careful than I had been in the checkout lane. I said the child bit me. I said the mother refused to take it seriously. I said I had told her to seek medical advice because blood was involved. He asked if I wanted to push for anything beyond the report. I didn't know how to answer. Part of me wanted to. The part that remembered her laugh. The part that remembered her saying, walk away. But another part of me kept seeing Nicholas crying. I asked, what happens if I do? He explained it plainly. There would be documentation. Maybe follow-up. Maybe nothing. The store could decide whether to ban them. The parents might be contacted. It depended on how the report was handled. I didn't push beyond documentation. That might sound like mercy. It wasn't. The worst damage had already started moving without me. I went home that evening with a bandage on my calf, a prescription, and a plastic bag of groceries Eric had insisted the store replace. My soup cans were dented. My coffee had survived. The detergent had leaked a little. I stood in my kitchen, staring at the bag, and suddenly laughed. Then I cried. Not loudly. Just tired, quiet tears while I put soup in the cabinet and tried to pretend the day had not happened. By the next morning, the bite hurt less, but the memory stayed sharp. A week passed. Then 2. The mark on my leg faded from red to purple, then yellow. I could walk normally again. I stopped thinking about it every hour. But I never forgot it. Sometimes, standing in line somewhere, I would feel a cart roll too close behind me and my whole body would tense. Sometimes a child would whine in a store and my stomach would drop. And sometimes, if I was being honest, I wondered what was happening in that mother's house. I pictured her checking Nicholas's mouth in the bathroom mirror. I pictured her calling doctors. I pictured her husband asking, "How did this even happen?" I pictured her trying to explain that her son had bitten a stranger in a checkout line while she was on her phone. Those thoughts should have made me feel only guilty. They didn't. Sometimes they made me feel satisfied. That is the part I'm not proud of. About 6 weeks after the incident, I received a message request on social media from a profile I didn't recognize. At first, I almost deleted it. Then I read the first line. "Please, I know you probably hate me, but I need to ask you something." My body went cold. It was her. She did not write like the woman from the grocery store. There was no attitude. No blame. No, my child is just energetic. No, you scared him. Just panic. She said Nicholas had been checked by his doctor. She said everyone had told her to follow the proper steps and not spiral. She said she understood that I didn't owe her anything. Then she asked if I would privately confirm whether there was any real reason to worry. The next line made my chest tighten. I have not slept normally since that day. I sat on the edge of my bed with my phone in both hands. My thumb hovered over the reply box. There it was. The chance to end it. All I had to write was, "I lied. I was angry. Your son is not in danger from me." One message. Maybe she would hate me. Maybe she would threaten me. Maybe she would call me cruel. Maybe she would be right. But at least the child would not be living under a cloud I created. I started typing. Then I stopped. Because I remembered her first face. Not the terrified one. The bored one. The annoyed one. The one that looked at my blood and decided I was performing. I remembered her saying, "He barely touched you." I remembered her telling Laura not to get involved. I remembered Nicholas smirking before he cried. And then I did something I still don't know how to defend. I deleted the half-written reply. I blocked her. For a while, it felt like power. It felt like I had taken the humiliation she handed me and returned it with interest. She couldn't dismiss this. She couldn't scroll past it. She had to sit with it. But power rots fast when you keep it too long. Months passed. Life went back to normal in the way life always does after something ugly. Bills came. Work dragged on. The weather changed. The bandage came off. The mark faded until I had to look for it in the right light. But the story followed me. Not every minute. Just enough. In checkout lines. In parking lots. In the quiet before sleep. I told myself she deserved fear. Then I told myself no one deserved that kind of fear. Then I got angry again because I had not asked for any of it. I had not asked her son to ram the cart into me. I had not asked him to bite me. I had not asked her to laugh. That was the argument I used whenever guilt got too close. She started it. I only reacted. But a reaction can still be cruel. The update came from Deborah. She was not a close friend. More like someone I knew well enough to have coffee with if we ran into each other. We met at Copper Kettle Cafe one afternoon because she wanted to talk about something completely unrelated. Halfway through our drinks, she mentioned Maple Ridge Market. "Do you remember that weird incident there a while back?" she asked. My hand froze around my cup. What incident? The kid who bit someone in line. I forced myself to look casual. Oh, yeah. I think I heard something. Deborah leaned closer. I know the mom. Not well, but through a friend. It got really bad for them. My stomach tightened. I wanted to tell her to stop. I didn't. She said Pamela had become obsessed with what happened. Not because doctors kept warning her. According to Deborah, they were calm. They explained things. They gave instructions. They told her not to panic. But panic does not always listen to reason. Pamela kept replaying it. What if there was something wrong? What if the doctors missed something? What if she had ruined her child's life because she had been looking at her phone? That last part stayed with me. Because there it was. The thing she should have felt in the store. Responsibility. Deborah said Pamela and her husband, Michael, had already been having problems before that day. The grocery store incident did not create the cracks. It widened them. Michael was furious when he found out how it happened. Not just that Nicholas had bitten someone, but that Pamela had brushed it off afterward. They fought about parenting, about attention, about how often she ignored behavior until someone else paid for it. Pamela stopped going to that store. Then she stopped going out much at all. Nicholas started having problems at school, not because he was sick, but because he was scared and confused and acting out. Michael wanted counseling. Pamela wanted reassurance no one could give her enough of. Eventually, Michael left. Deborah stirred her coffee and said, "I feel bad for her. What her kid did was awful, but she's not the same person anymore." I nodded like I was hearing sad gossip about a stranger. Inside, something heavy settled. I had imagined consequences. I had pictured Pamela embarrassed, shaken, maybe forced to apologize, forced to parent her child, forced to understand that other people were real. I had not pictured a whole house turning into a place of fear. I had not pictured a marriage breaking under the weight of one sentence I said, because I was furious. I had not pictured a child learning that the world could become terrifying because of one cruel mistake in a grocery line. When I got home that night, I sat on the edge of my bed and looked at the faint mark on my calf. It was barely there anymore. A small shadow under the skin. Proof of what happened, but not proof of everything after. I opened my phone and searched for Pamela's profile. Nothing came up. Either she had deleted it, changed her settings, or blocked me too. I don't know what I would have said if I had found her. "I'm sorry?" Too small. I lied. Too late. "Your son was never in danger from me?" That was the truth she had begged for, and I had refused to give it when it mattered. I thought about Nicholas too. I still believe he needed consequences. A child old enough to bite a stranger in public is old enough to learn that bodies are not toys and pain is not funny. But he was also a child watching every adult around him collapse into fear. And I helped create that. People might say Pamela deserved it. Maybe part of her did. She was careless. She was cruel. She mocked me when I was bleeding. She chose pride when a simple apology could have ended everything. If she had said, "Oh my God, I'm sorry," I would have cried, cleaned my leg, filed the report, and moved on. If she had grabbed her son and made him apologize, I would probably remember her as a stressed mother having a terrible day. But she didn't. She laughed. She told me to walk away. So I gave her something she couldn't walk away from. For a while, I called that karma. Now I don't know what to call it. Karma is supposed to arrive on its own. It is supposed to feel clean, like balance. What I did not feel clean. It felt good for a moment, then it followed me home and stayed there. I don't think I was the only villain in that grocery store. But I know I became one when she reached out and begged for the truth, and I decided her fear mattered less than my anger. That choice is the part one live with. Pamela lost more than I meant for her to lose. Nicholas learned a lesson no child should learn that way. Michael walked away from a house that was probably already breaking. And I got what I thought I wanted. Silence. Distance. The small comfort of knowing she never laughed at me again. But sometimes, when I stand in a checkout line and someone's cart rolls too close behind me, my body still tenses. I still hear her voice saying, "Walk away." I still see that smear near her son's mouth. Then I hear my own voice saying the sentence that changed everything. I wanted her to feel accountable. I wanted her to feel afraid. I wanted her to understand that actions have consequences. She did. But so did mine. Was I a hurt woman who finally made an entitled mother face reality, or did I take one awful moment and become the kind of person I was trying to punish?